Hey, what's up? It's Emilio Despirito, and this is the Wealth Architect Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you each and every single week. My team and I have hand-selected our guests to come on the program to talk about how to build wealth financially, mentally, physically, spiritually, right? There's so much that goes into building a lifestyle full of wealth, and we hope that this content really reaches you, not only in your brain, but in your heart, and that you could do something with this. So thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you, and we're going to have a great show. Hey, a special thank you to our sponsor, Annie Mac Home Mortgage, whose Cash to Keys product is disrupting the industry. Sick and tired of finding the perfect home, not having your offer selected? I got to tell you, it happens all the time. With Cash to Keys, Annie Mac gives sellers a cash guarantee for each of their buyers' offers. Stop bidding and hoping. Instead, bid with Annie Mac and bid with confidence. Don't just bid, but win. Annie Mac Mortgage. When you're buying real estate, you need somebody that understands the ins and outs of the legal ends. It's so important to have the right attorney working for you. You also need a bulldog. Let me tell you something. The first time I sat in a conference room with this lady, Melissa Delana of Delana Law, I immediately knew she owned the room. You need an attorney that owns the room, that can solve problems and make things happen when everybody else can't. You want to hire Delana Law in Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Rhode Island. Delana Law delivers every single time. They're going to help you out with all of your real estate needs. It's delanalaw.com. You got to check them out. Season 2, Episode 3 of The Wealth Architect. I'm Emilio Despirito, and we have a bang-up show for you today. We have 2 really awesome guests, and I'm excited to get into it because this gentleman that we have is a money coach, okay? So he's a certified money coach, and so many people fall into the wrong patterns. They might not know where to start, or they may have accumulated money, but maybe not at the level in which they want to do. And this guy is the specialist here, and he's unbelievable. So I'm excited to have on Gino Barbaro. Did I say that right?
You did say that right.
All right, great. Well, welcome to the show, Gino.
Emilio, thanks for having me on. And it's a great topic. I love the title of the podcast. It's incredible because it is you are an archetype, and when you're building wealth, you need to have a plan. So I'd love to dive into that. I'd love to dive into mistakes we make, possibly what I've done, how I've created wealth, because there's so many different ways of creating wealth. But the whole idea is to focus on what you, the listener, you're trying to accomplish and how you want to create wealth.
Absolutely. So Gino, before we jump into that though, can you tell us a little bit more about what a certified money coach is and how do you obtain that?
Oh, excellent question. I was fortunate enough about a year ago, I had the education company, Jake and Gino, and I was just sick and tired of just teaching people how to buy real estate, right? We've been doing it for 10 years. Our students had closed over 80,000 units. I had over 150 people leave their businesses and go into real estate full time or their jobs. And that was fulfilling to me. But what I didn't understand, Emilio, was you take 2 people, one person who's really young, has no money, and is closing deals. And then you have another person, like let's say a Gino, who's got some bucks in the bank, a little comfortable, but he can't close deals. He should be closing deals, and this other one, it wasn't. And I'm like, what's the difference? How can I help this guy who's stuck here and that can't close deals? And I stumbled upon money coaching. And money coaching was started, the Money Coaching Institute was started by a woman named Deborah Price. Go check out her website. Okay. It's incredible because it's all about a person's psychology of money, about a person's behaviors, about a person's patterns. Anybody listen to this, when I ask them, where do you think you got your money beliefs from? They will always say to me, mostly say to me, had nothing to do with my parents. I don't want to be like my parents. But when you go back, Emilio, and you start diagnosing your money bio and your history, you start seeing those patterns developing as a young person. And then it goes into young adulthood. And now you're, let's say in your 30s or 40s, and you keep making these mistakes or these unconscious behaviors or patterns, and you don't know why. And that's what I love about money coaching. You're going back into the past, diagnosing what's happened in the past, looking at all of your money traumas, looking at all your behaviors and patterns, bringing them up to the present, shining a light on them and saying, hey, this is what you're acting. This is what you told me you're doing. Do you want to continue to do this? It's okay if you do, but you've come to me and you've seen that you don't want to continue to replicate what you've been doing. So let's create a plan and let's create something going forward. And that's what I love about money coaching, is looking in the past, seeing where you are in the present, and creating a plan for the future.
How long of a process does that take to identify that? Like, you go to a therapist, right? You're sitting there on the chaise lounge, and you're just telling them for months on end. What is that something you can help identify in a half an hour of coaching, or a forum?
That is a great question. It's a 4-core process, and people are going to say there's no way you can do that. I would push back and say, if you are currently ready right now, you're pissed off and you want the change, there's going to be work involved, Emilio. That's the problem.
Always.
People don't want to do the work when they're sitting on the therapist's couch. That average person is like, you know what? I'm a victim. I'm just going to keep retelling my story. I'm stuck in that pattern. What I want people to do is I want them to go in session 1, create a money bio. And I'll just use myself as an example.
Money bio.
Yeah, money bio. You go back to the first memory that you have on money, right? And for me, I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Italian grandma.
Yeah.
Going to the grocery store. I want to buy these toy soldiers. And she looks down at me and she goes, "Tesoro," sweetheart in Italian, "I don't have the money right now. We can't buy them." And I'm sobbing, I'm crying. She goes, "When your mom comes home, we'll come back to the store and we'll buy you these soldiers." And I remember leaving and not buying those soldiers. So some of you may say, what a big deal. Not a big deal, right? But for me, I looked at that and I witnessed that as saying, holy cow, if I don't get what I want right away, I'm not going to be able to get it. And that's a trauma for a 5-year-old, because we don't understand, why can't I buy something that I don't want? Fast forward to my next memory. I was about 7 years old. I'm in the backyard with the family. I just came home from the restaurant, work with my dad. I'm 7 years old. He gave me $2 in front of everybody and he said, "Gino, great job today. I'm really proud of you." And everybody, all the Italians are clapping.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my 7-year-old brain says, hard work, money, uplifted, great to do that.
Yep.
Fast forward to when I'm, in my 20s. Ironically enough, I opened a restaurant with my dad. I have a restaurant for X amount of years. So you can see, if you really start diagnosing and looking at all of these patterns and these behaviors, and you start extrapolating them out. And as anyone listening to this, you can do this on your own. Sit down, get a piece of paper, write your first memory, and start try to fill out a memory every year from the age of 5, 6, whatever. And if, let's say, you're 40 years old, try to put as many memories as you possibly can. And then you'll start seeing the patterns. Mom told me to go to college. Mom didn't let me become a veterinarian. Mom hid the money from me. Whatever it is, you start seeing that. And it's one of two things. You either adopt the patterns of your parents, and in some cases, you do the opposite of what you're taught in school and what you're taught at home. And it's very important. You may be creating wealth. You may be building that business. All I want you to understand is I want you to be building the business that you want, not the business that you're building to show everyone that you're smart enough and you could do it on your own. Build the right business. And that's what I think money coaching allows you to do. It gives you that space to start working on that bio and seeing what's going on. Now, the second session is about we call it a money map. You start seeing all these behaviors. You start putting them on a map. Are they your behaviors? Because some of them are self. Some of them are the behaviors that you actually have. Are they your mother's? Are they your father's? And then they're positives and they're negatives. And there's something called archetypes, a money archetype. Money archetype is a character within you that drives your behaviors. There's 8 of them. I'll give you the 3 that are really important. There's the warrior, who's really diligent, has to work hard. He gets things done. Then you have the magician, who's the one who transforms reality. You need both of them working in conjunction. Then we have the creator artist, which is the third one, which is really important. Those artists who are always broke, but who do things, and they have a lot of money trauma. Those are 3 of the money archetypes out of the 8 that they're really important. Now, all of the rest of them, whether you're the fool, whether you're the innocent, the victim, the tyrant, the martyr, those other 5, all of them are really important. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand what archetype you're attached to, and are you acting out that archetype? So if you're the victim, for instance, and woe is me, do you want the victim archetype running your money behaviors or your money? No, you don't. You have to understand that. And where did that victim archetype come from? Was it from yourself, or was it from your mom and your dad? And the last thing I'll say about it is it's really important. You need to work on Mostly, you need to understand the positives, because we do have a lot of positive behaviors. Let's highlight them. Let's expose them and say, hey, great job. But what you really want to work on, if you're doing this by yourself, you want to work on all of the negatives that you have, all the negative money patterns. Where do they come from? How do they show up? How can you attack them? And that's what's important. Once you start laying it out, you start saying, wow, no wonder why I'm not really good with money. I'm an innocent. No one ever talked to me about money when I was growing up. I just get afraid. I get fearful. Or if I'm the fool, man, dad always loved to party. We loved to go out gambling. And all of a sudden he got some money and he blew it. And then subconsciously or unconsciously, you start adopting their behaviors. The power is when you start realizing it, that you ultimately have your own decisions and you can make those own choices. Everything, Emilio, in your life starts to change.
I love that. As you're talking about the different archetypes, right?
Yep.
I was like, I'm questioning, like, as our listeners are, like, which one am I?
Yes.
And I found myself, when I started making good money in real estate, doing foolish things, like just buying some foolish stuff. And then I'd be like, like when I started, I'd have like, after a couple of years, I'd have like 20 grand in the bank account. And then the next month it'd be gone. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. So I think I was maybe the fool. And what I did was I started investing in real estate to save my money from me. I saved my money from me, right?
So Emilio, it's important. It's important though. The money is just the symptom, right? We always believe that we make more money, it'll solve more problems.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that's not the issue, because I've made tons of money in my life. As I got more money, different problems started to appear. And what you're talking about with the fool archetype, these archetypes are not good or bad in any sense.
Sure.
We need a little bit of fool. A fool is optimistic. He's hopeful. They see opportunities. But if you're too much of a fool, then you're throwing 20 grand to crypto or the next investment. And you're also adopting possibly the innocent archetype, where the innocent says, I don't really know. I'm afraid, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I don't really know how to invest. You put both of those archetypes together, guaranteed 100% you're going to lose your money. So once you start understanding, well, what archetype do I want? You want the warrior archetype, because the warrior archetype is going to say, I've got $20,000. How can I learn to invest in real estate positively? How can I start getting educated? How can I start going to masterminds? And how can I start underwriting deals? The warrior takes it and he says to himself, I'm going to be responsible with this money. But the fool, at the same time, I need a little bit of fool, because I can't say there's no deal. So when I was talking about the students back in the day, if you're looking at a person who's not doing deals, they may have paralysis analysis, right? They may be the person who is like, you know what? I don't want to take a risk. I've seen my parents lose money subconsciously. Yeah. I don't want to, lose money. It's a wonderful methodology. It really, once you start looking at it from that perspective, it's all of a sudden, I have all these different archetypes. I tap into each one of them. Which one of them do I want driving the car? Sometimes you do want the fool driving the car, but for the most part, you usually want the warrior driving. You want the magician to the right-hand side, and you want the creator artist in the back seat, because every now and again you want the creator artist, you want the person who's creative to come out. You don't want the creator artist driving the car, because the creator artist really is not materialistic. He's not in this world. He's not in it for the money, but you need that side of you, like you're doing with this podcast. This podcast is your creator artist. You're getting out of your comfort zone. You're doing a show. You're enjoying it. You're tapped in. Creator artist doesn't do things for money. And I don't think we need to do things for money all the time. We need to have joy in our lives. The warrior is going to say, hey, let's get back to the money side of this thing. But the creator artist is, let's enjoy it. If you can put both of those two together with the magician who's going to transform reality and who's going to say to you, you know what? What is your why? Let's focus on your why. Let's focus on, impacting others. You have that trio working together, you're unstoppable when it comes to money.
Wow. So again, I'm just trying to figure out. So talk about the magician again, because that one's interesting. So tell me like who that would be.
Yeah, the magician is just somebody, the person inside you, the character inside of you that wants to transform reality, right? They're the person. They're not even
the creative one.
Yeah, they're sort of creative, but they're also there. Their goal is not about money. Their goal is about making sure that Gino taps into his why. Like, why am I on this podcast? Why am I doing this? I've seen that I love also to be a coach. I was a life coach. I was a business coach. And that's why I've become a money coach. So my magician's telling me, Gino, don't really worry so much about writing books. Don't worry so much about, getting on podcasts, booking sales calls. That warrior is going to take care of that for you. You need to stay on the true path. You need to stay on what mission you want to. You need to stay on what your why is. So I think the magician, if I'm thinking about him, he's creating the vision statement for me. He's creating my mission for me. And I really need to be focused on that. Whereas the warrior is the one who's putting in the work. He's getting on the calls. He's doing the strategy and all that. And the warrior is there side by side. And if it's always the warrior working without the magician, all of a sudden you get a little tyrant. And the tyrant becomes all of a sudden, it's all about money. I'm afraid. I need control. I'm going to put everybody else down. It's just all about money. That's all it's about. And you've seen that happen in people's lives.
It's not sustainable. Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And there's no happiness in that. There's just a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. And listen, I was a tyrant for many years of our marriage. My wife was the innocent. And this is something else, Emilio, you can do, and anybody listening to this. If you're married, you have a significant other, see what your money bio is versus your significant others. My wife came from a single family background. Her mom was a single mom, 3 kids. They never had money. They never talked about money. My 2 parents were immigrants. They were savers. They were business owners. So when we got married, I was the one who took care of all the money decisions. She stayed home. She raised 6 kids. She was the innocent. And as we, developed, as our lives, got older, I became a little bit more of a tyrant. And not in a good or bad way, more of a self-tyrant, because I was friggin' scared. I'm like, you know what? If I've got to make the decisions, she's not going to make any decisions. So that's what's really, really important. Just looking at yourself and seeing, well, where am I in this journey?
Yeah, that's amazing. And so if somebody if they want to find out more about those archetypes, is there a website that you have? Do they go to your website, jackandgino.com, or is there somewhere else where they can connect with you? And because it's a deep dive conversation. I mean,
it is. Just go to Barbaro 360, BARBARO 360.com. That's the family website. I would also go to the Money Coaching Institute. On there, she's got a money coaching quiz. I don't have the quiz on my website yet, but you can take a quiz and see what archetypes you are as far as percentages. They've got questions on there, and they'll ask you questions based upon what your feelings are towards money. And it's great. Controlling, fearful, happy, invigorating, whatever the words are. And then from those words, they can start diagnosing what archetypes you are. And it's really an enlightening conversation, because for me, 10 years ago, I would have exhibited a lot more tyrant. I would have exhibited very little fool, very little creative artist. And over the years, I've shifted over. I've become less of a tyrant, more of a warrior, more of a creative artist, and more of a magician.
Do you think that, people that grew up in more of humble beginnings, right? Like seeing their parents struggle, like I'm thinking about like my past, right? Like I grew up, my dad would work 90 hours a week at a job he hated, a retail store, people breathing down his neck to get stuff done, like never like moving up the ladder as they promised him. My mom worked a couple of jobs, also took care of us very well, right? But I remember she'd be on the phone crying that they couldn't make the mortgage payment, working with the mortgage company. I remember we'd only go out to eat 5 times a year, Gino, and that was on our birthdays. Okay. So do you find that people with humble beginnings like that, oftentimes are the people that become the more successful, or do you find that people that have, money in their background and know about money have a higher chance of success? Just from the people you talk with.
Yeah, that's a great question. It really depends upon the situation. I know for a fact, and this is why we started Barbaro 360. We want to change the world one family at a time. I truly believe that families that have a really healthy father and a healthy mother, and they stay together and they raise kids, those kids have a much better chance of success at life. 100%. I don't care what anybody says. You'll never, because I see a lot of the trauma from divorces, from even unhealthy relationships between mother and father. So if you're a dad out there, everything you say and everything you do is affecting your kids. Your daughter is going to marry you, whether you like it or not. That's the reality. So I realized that years ago, I was creating this trauma on my kids. And guess what? We're going to screw up our kids no matter what. That's just the reality. It's just understanding that, asking for forgiveness, being totally transparent and totally honest. Now, when your father, and you remember those memories of not paying the mortgage, that creates trauma in a child.
Yeah.
Right? Bring it to today, right? That may cause you to work even harder. That may cause you to live in a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety. You may not want to be as charitable, let's say. I'm just throwing out things here. So really, success depends upon how you want to define it. For me, financial freedom and success is just being able to enjoy my money, being able to pay for something without worrying about a bill popping up, having the options to go to Italy with 6 kids and go on a pilgrimage for 5 days and be able to afford 8 plane tickets.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it is to me. What it might be for somebody else, it may be different. But I think that whole mindset for me was started early on, and I created my values early on, and that's what's transpired throughout my adult life. And now I'm just looking at money a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Money is a tool, right? If you can use that to help people, to help your family, to have experiences, and to live a life where you're not worried about where the next food, where your next plate of food is going to come from. I mean, we have it really damn good here, Gino. And I think about that every day I wake up. I thank God for everything I have, right? All the blessings, for food, for my house, for my family, for just being here in the United States. Okay. And I think so many times people overlook the basics. All of our basic needs are met. We have the foundation, and we're in a country that is built on being able to build yourself up. We have access to the internet. We have access to people. We have access to podcasts, right? Like, there is no excuse to not become successful in the United States.
I think the better question though is, why do you feel that way? And I can give you an example for myself. After I sold Jake and Gino, I slowed down a little bit. And I'm like, wow, what am I going to do now? Because my pattern early on from young adulthood, getting out of college, always having 2 jobs, then starting a restaurant, then getting into real estate, I was always busy. I was always producing. And now all of a sudden I slow down a little bit and I don't know what to do with myself. I may have a little bit of fool coming out. I may be becoming a little bit more less risk averse because I need to do something because I'm bored. Just being aware of that and having those feelings come up and having to deal with those feelings, depression, sadness, loneliness, those are real for a lot of people. And if you have a pattern that's always built on being busy and being successful and being creative, and then that slows down, you just got to be aware and say, well, what's my next step? And it's okay. Do a little bit of what we call polyvagal breathing. Reset your nervous system, see what's going on, check your thoughts. It's really important for you out there, because when you're making these big money decisions, you want to come from a place not of scarcity and not of fear, but one of abundance and one of positivity. You're always going to make a better decision from that place.
Dead on. And it's always those people that have more of a relaxed approach to them, right? That are just like, all right, whatever happens. They're not married to the outcome. They're not spending the money that they don't have yet, right? Like, you see that. I see that all the time. Or I see, instead of people reinvesting back into their business or reinvesting into smart places, they're taking the money. They're buying the Rolexes. They're buying the fancy cars, the big house with the crazy mortgage payment. And I would say, I see this in guys my age, right? I would say 35 to 45, just out to make money to impress. And it's not, that's not where the wealth creation is. Those guys are going to be leagues behind the guys that are putting the money into investments. I'm curious to hear what you think some really smart investments are. I mean, you have crypto, you have, it sounds like you might not be a fan of that. You have real estate, you have businesses. Like, with all the people you've coached, with all of your background, what have you seen be the best overall short and long-term investments?
I'm going to answer that question, but what you said, and you glossed over it, which is really important to diagnose. This is another behavior. I had a friend when I was living up in New York. She had 6 kids like we do. Homeschool mom. She was a foot doctor. Her husband was a foot doctor. She grew up in poverty. She had 5 other siblings. So when she became successful, all of a sudden she started spending money. And when I say spending money, expanding the house, buying horses, extra cars, vacations. She had more clothes than Nordstrom's. It was incredible. And I always wondered, why did that happen? It's because of trying to buy her way and trying to think that money and the lack of it when she was young, if she was going to overcompensate when she got older. So if you're doing that out there, say to yourself, why do I need to level up? Why do I need to buy another house? Why do I need to spend a ton of money? That's an important question for you to ask yourself, and that's why money coaching is there. Now, as far as investments go, if you're gonna want to create wealth for the long term, for me, it is all about real estate. I'm sorry, we own multifamily. Me and my business partner Jake, and we have another partner. We own 1,800 units, and we have no syndications, so it's all of our capital. But if you're starting out and you don't have any money, just get into the game of real estate. Start saving money. And if you can't get into bigger deals, you can invest passively in real estate. Because the thing that real estate that most people don't understand, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. I have 3 older children.
Right.
My son is 23 years old. He has 10 K1s. His tax return was 35 pages long. He's got more depreciation on his tax return, and the cash coming from the properties is offset by the depreciation. So he's making a lot more money than somebody who's working as a W-2 employee. So what I love for people to do is earn your income and move it over into the portfolio side of your investments.
Yes.
And I love to see you buy some, either whether it's a business or it's a real estate investment. I love for people to tap into that side because that's where you get the massive tax benefits. And that is where over the long term, inflation is going to be handled by your real estate and or by your business because it's going to keep up with inflation.
That's right. You know, as you're saying this, right, somebody might be like, well, where do I start? I don't want anything too complex. Pick up Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That book is absolutely amazing. And it breaks it all down. And it also talks about the W-2 worker, okay, the poor dad versus the rich dad who's a business owner. And the biggest difference between the two, and you were talking about all those K1 statements, is, you know, the W-2 worker gets paid and then they spend their money after they've been charged taxes, where the business owner, they buy everything and then write off all their business expenses and then they get paid. And that's such a massive difference. And there's just, wow. I mean, there's no comparison. Our tax system it was built for entrepreneurial people. It was built for people who own and keep real estate. I mean, it's built for business owners.
I was just having this conversation with my 19-year-old daughter this morning, and because I was going over her tax return as well. My 3 older kids, they have their own little businesses. I get on a monthly call with them with our bookkeeper. They have to maintain their own books. We go over statement of cash flows. We go over their income statement, their balance sheets. Your language becomes your experience. That's the reality. And taxes are written to stimulate behavior. The government cannot create housing. The government cannot create taxes.
Correct.
The government needs Emilio and Gino to go out there and do that. And how do they do that? They offer incentives. So when you're telling me Jeff Bezos doesn't pay any taxes because he's a billionaire, well, he's got hundreds of thousands of jobs that he's created for the states, and those people pay taxes. So is it better to get taxes from one person or to get taxes from 100,000 different people?
Well said.
That's why the government does it. 70,000 pages. Go into the tax code, use AI, and start asking AI, how can I start saving money on taxes? What can I do? I didn't have that advantage, but you have that advantage now. Yeah. Everyone's got the same playbook. Yep. Start a little business and start writing everything off of the business, whether it's your cell phone, whether it's possibly a car, whether it's a laptop, whether you have office space, whatever that is, it starts coming off the top and you start making less, you start earning less, but you start keeping more. The irony is it's just out there. It's just that we weren't taught. We haven't been taught. And I'll say one more thing, Emilio.
Yeah.
This is my conspiracy. My conspiracy is that they wanted us to stay dumb. They want us to stay financially unintelligent because those are the people who they can control. Those are the people that they want tax money from. If too many of us understand what's going on, then we don't need the system. Then the system doesn't function. And then they don't want us. That's what I've seen. You talk about people out in the world. You talk about people caught up. It's really hard when you're 23 years old and you have $200,000 in student debt to do what you want to do. Your options are very limited. And when you take away a person's options, that's what ends up happening. That's just my conspiracy theory, but you've seen it over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Why aren't we teaching home ec? Why aren't we teaching shop? And why aren't we teaching the balance checkbook? Those are the 3 things you need in high school, and none of them are being taught right now.
Which is so wild. But that's why you're seeing podcasts like this.
Yes.
Okay. And professional development books, personal development books at an all-time high. I mean, people are really, they're searching high and low for this stuff, and people are hungry for information. I guess the problem is that not all of the information is accurate, nor is it good. And, some of the stuff out on the internet is just, is kind of funny. But I want to go back to the conundrum for a second here. Sure. You were talking about, all right, start a business, get your write-offs, start quote unquote making less. Okay. The problem, and yes, that's part of the process, but I want the listeners to get your advice here. The problem when that happens is when you're making less on paper, you're not a quote unquote good candidate to be purchasing real estate. So if somebody wants to go and purchase a multifamily and start scaling up, instead of doing single family, they want to go into multifamily things, they need to be educated on different instruments they can use that don't go off of their income. What would you suggest for them?
That's a great question. For me, when I started back in 2011, I met my business partner, Jake, 18 months to find the first deal. And the best thing that I did was I continued to stay in the restaurant while I invested in real estate. So I had a full-time gig and real estate was my side hustle. And I did that for 5 years. I stayed in the restaurant for 5 years, worked a lot of hours during the day, and at nighttime, I was working on the real estate. And what was very interesting was people say, burn your ships, quit your job, and go into this full time. Don't do that. Only because, and I don't want to tell somebody what to do, but from what I've seen, it allowed me to reinvest all the profits that I had in my real estate business back into the real estate. So I was able to scale quicker, and my job paid for my living expenses. So I have both. And at some point, you're going to be saying, hey, I'm making $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month with the real estate. Now is the time to leave. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. But what isn't hard that's worth it in life? If in the next 3 years, you have to buckle down and work really hard, would you be willing to do that? The pandemic was 5 years ago. How quickly time goes by. So fast. If you can sit here today and say to yourself, you know what, I want to get into real estate. I'm going to dedicate the next 3 years to learning how to do it, to buying my first deal, but not quitting my job, keeping my job because I need to pay the bills and I need to have that W-2 income coming in to be able to qualify. Now, specifically to your question, seller financing. I mean, one of my coaches wrote a book called Creative Cash. Seller financing, master lease options, creative financing is an amazing tool that you can use. If you don't have the money, you go out there and you find properties that are distressed, that owners have owned for a long time, that have equity, and they'll hold financing on those properties. Listen, we've done over $30 million in seller finance deals. So it's just one tool in the tool belt. Another one is syndication. If you're in multifamily, a syndication is basically getting a bunch of investors together, pooling their money, and buying a deal. I didn't say you needed to have money, but you need to have the skills. You need to be able to understand how to create value in multifamily, and you can do all that. And if you don't have money, you can go out and find investors that will invest alongside you.
Beautiful. There's also programs out there that just came out over the past couple of years that will actually use the income from the property, right? The revenue coming in from the property to qualify you. And they don't necessarily go off of your tax return, which is really nice as well, too.
Yes.
So there's so many different products out there, and there's ways to level up. And you hit the nail on the head, Gino, when you were basically saying that people need to realize how to solve. You didn't say it like this, but this is how I interpreted it. You need to be able to solve problems. And if you can solve problems and you can put pieces of a puzzle together that other people aren't doing, you're going to make it. I think it's about the network. I think it's about learning from people like yourself, reading all the right books, listening to all the right podcasts, and just learning different ways to be creative and take risk, right? Would you agree? Yeah. You got to take some risk.
I would agree. And you said it really well, but I'll even take it one step further. If you're going to get into real estate, even if you're a real estate agent, you need to look at it as a business. I didn't look at it as a business when I bought my first fourplex. But in multifamily, single family, self-storage, you're buying a future stream of revenue.
That's right.
Businesses have scalability, and they're a lot different. And when you're a real estate agent, you are the business. You're your own brand. You're out there and you're soliciting business. So you need to understand that as well. What you're trying to do is you're trying to make as much money as you possibly can in commissions. Get that money, like I said, once again, and start investing it in multifamily businesses or buying single family homes or whatever niche it is. But like you said, going back to the wealth architect, you need to figure out the foundation. You need to build the foundation first, have some money coming in, build the foundation by learning what niche it is. And I would love to tell people, focus on one vehicle. Don't try to do 3 or 4 different vehicles. Don't try to do single families. Don't try to do self-storage, mobile home parks, whichever one you like, whatever market you're in. And you're like, well, multifamily stinks in my market. Well, go out and find something else that works in your market, because something does work in your market.
Sure.
Learn it. Spend some months figuring it out and focus on that niche.
I love that. Gino, why don't you share the website again that they can reach you? And feel free, guys, to reach out to Gino on there. You can find out more. He is a certified money coach. Go ahead. What is it?
It's Barbaro360.com. And let me hold up the book. I've got a book called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. It's really on the same vein of the whole coaching aspect. And I'm not saying that money's making you happy. What I'm saying is that there's ways to make money that will make you happier. So if you want a copy of that, just go to Gino@jakeandgino.com. That's my email address, and I'll send you out a free PDF copy.
Wow, that's awesome. I got to get that book, and I need an autographed copy of that from my bookshelf here.
I'm going to send it out, brother.
Yeah,
you got it.
I love that. Awesome. Gino, appreciate you so much for jumping on the show. Guys, make sure to follow him. Why don't you throw out your Instagram tag real quick, and they can catch this on ours too.
Barbaro360.
All right, awesome. Easy peasy. Good stuff, Gino. Thanks so much for joining us. Have you ever heard of upfront underwriting? Well, I haven't until I started working with Movement Mortgage. Movement Mortgage is one of the top loan originators around the country. Specifically, I want to give a thank you to Matt Bates. And if you're lucky enough to live in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, or New Hampshire, I strongly suggest you contact Matt Bates at rimortgageguy.com. Again, rimortgageguy.com. And he's going to help you to find that dream home. He does upfront underwriting, which means they fully approve you for a mortgage before you even place offers, increasing your chances of winning that dream home. rimortgageguy.com. Season 2, Episode 3, Segment 2 of The Wealth Architect. I'm Emilio Despirito, and I'm so excited to have you here with us today. We've got a really great guest. Him and I are actually colleagues in Realm. So Realm Global, it's a collaborative of over 600 of the top producing agents all across the world in 18 different countries, over 150 different brands. So this is the top of the top. And Doug and I met through Realm Global, and Doug is a founding member of the Compass team out in Aspen, Colorado. Doug, welcome to The Wealth Architect.
Thank you, Emilio. Appreciate it. Nice to be here.
You're welcome. Nice to be here too. I love the background. I mean, you've got such a beautiful backdrop over here. It makes me want to get outside and enjoy the rest of summer while we have it. So we don't have as much fun here in the winter as you do in Aspen, out in Rhode Island as you do in Aspen, I got to tell you.
Well, it's a pretty special place on the planet for sure. I feel very lucky to live here. Aspen, as you probably know, sort of had its beginnings as a ski town. But it's been interesting, especially over the last probably 10 years. It's really become a summer destination. I'd say we're almost busier in the summer now than we are in the winter. So it's
wow,
fascinating to kind of watch that shift.
What's the draw in the summer to Aspen? Is it golf or whitewater rafting or?
My house looks over the Burn Creek Golf Course, which is a nice private club, and looking up at Aspen Highlands, which is right behind me. But now I fly fishing, mountain biking, road cycling, hiking, mountaineering are all things that people enjoy doing in the summertime. And then obviously the ski experience in the wintertime and snowshoeing and, sort of just getting out in the snow and playing is what winter brings.
That's fantastic. I love it. And, out in Aspen, I can imagine that the real estate prices are elevated. They're pretty high. I mean, let's talk about your marketplace. And then I want to talk about the specifics of a little bit of your background and then the specifics of dealing with a higher end type of clientele. Okay. But as far as Aspen goes, what is the median price out in Aspen right now? Just give us a gauge.
So if you take single family homes in Aspen, kind of community wide, the average price is now $13 million.
13 million average? Wow. It's amazing.
And that has shifted and changed notably over time. And, it's a testament of a couple things. One, land prices have elevated simply because there's not much land left in Aspen. It's almost like we're an island not dissimilar to Manhattan. But unlike Manhattan, there's growth restrictions from an elevated perspective. So you can only build up to 28 feet high. So any new home can't go, multiple stories. No new building construction allows for any kind of skyscrapers or large elevated buildings. And we're surrounded by public land. So what you're seeing behind me is all Forest Service land, never to be developed. So it's very limited, and that island effect has watched prices continue to grow and elevate over time. So very little land left, a handful of lots, and building costs. I have clients who have just completed building homes, and their construction costs, not including landscaping, furnishing, architecture, design, anything else, just strict building costs were in the $2,500 per square foot range. So,
wow.
Yeah. So you just see a different level of, high level of construction here, but it has elevated the prices of property.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, we're looking at about $200 a square foot cost to build, a typical home here in Rhode Island.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing. That's more than 10 times the cost just to build.
No, it's a totally different market. And I have a lot of clients that come in from all over the country, and certainly they live in a lot of clients from Texas, and they say, my house is the nicest house in their neighborhood in Texas, and the construction costs there were $200, $300 a square foot. So it's a different environment here for sure.
Different world. Let's talk about last year. You had a $77 million sale. Is that right? That was last year in 2024?
Correct. Yes.
A $77 million sale. Like, all right, first off, who's buying that? Like, what did that person, can you say what they do or where do you find that kind of a buyer?
So, yeah, interesting. Good question. I have an NDA on the buyer, so I can't really speak, to them. What I can say is they were international, so from outside the country. And I can say that they were a billionaire in their respective country. And I think what attracted this particular buyer, which ended up briefly in Aspen being the most expensive sale in Aspen's history and the most expensive sale in the state of Colorado. Yeah, I mean, nice kudos to me. It was surpassed by another sale.
I saw that.
Yeah,
like a day later.
Yeah, it was when it finally closed. It was like, but it was notable. It was a very special piece of property on 60 acres, backing up to 800 acres of public land, open space, trails behind it. Incredible views, and a large house that can't be replicated because our building code has disallowed any larger homes. So this was 12, almost 13,000 square feet. The large homes are kind of a dying breed in Aspen, and now if you buy a piece of property, doesn't matter how big it is, it could be a quarter of an acre, it could be 35, 40 acres, you're relegated to 5,750 square feet per code. So larger homes are coveted because they're rare. So,
yeah. So 5,700 and whatever square feet is considered like a smaller home. That's like a humble home in Aspen.
Well, that's the limitation. You can't build anything
massive.
Yeah, I know.
It's
all relative, right? I listen, a lot of people, but there are certainly homes here that are, 10, 12, 15,000 square feet. So, it's interesting to see how that has changed over time.
I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Like we have like on the water and in other communities here in Rhode Island, we'll have, your 10, your 15,000 square foot home, 20,000 square foot homes like in Newport, right? So that's not unusual, but to hear that over 5,000 square feet is, kind of considered normal over there is pretty amazing. I love, and that's what I love about, about the network that we have through Realm, is that we get to hear all these fascinating things about all of the different marketplaces. Now, I know that year to date, right? You have another massive sale, about 53.5 million. Is that in contract or did that close?
No, that closed a few months ago. So
that's amazing.
And also interesting.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Interesting, kind of NDA, seller and buyer did not want to be in the press and the news, so it didn't get much, press per se, but notable, beautiful home, about 8,000 square feet. And what the buyer was seeking was something that was all above grade, and it was a very sophisticated, new, contemporary home. So I was very proud to represent that seller. In both of those cases, I was the listing agent and worked with the buyer and the buyer's agents. And that one was interesting because it was an off-market, private exclusive that we do at Compass to have sort of an off-market presence. So
wow. So Doug, let's talk about this for a second. We have a lot of real estate advisors, agents that listen to this program, and we also have a lot of people that are just relatively interested in the business, whether they're investors, builders, whatever. How do you position yourself to get in front of those kinds of a seller? I mean, even in your marketplace with a 13 million, average price, 55 million, 77 million, that's at the way top tier. What are you doing as an agent to go out and position yourself as that go-to person? Obviously, you got quite the track record.
Well, it's been interesting because I've lived in Aspen for over 30 years. I came here, my very first job when I landed was as a fly fishing guide. I have been a ski instructor. I worked at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel when it opened in Aspen. It's now a St. Regis, but I learned great customer service in the hotel space. And so providing a high level of customer service and, being available readily. And I guess the real passion of being a mountain person and being able to talk about the lifestyle that our mountains offer has something that's resonated with clients. So the people that I've met, whether they were a fly fishing customer 30 plus years ago or somebody that I've just met in the community that I ski with or whatever it may be, I think they appreciate the fact that I'm passionate about the mountains, but I'm also very knowledgeable about our market and very passionate about, real estate person.
Well, that's amazing. But I mean, these types of deals don't just fall in your lap, right? So when you're out in the community, right? Is it just you get to, you go bang doors, you go make cold calls, how are you getting in front of what type of network? And I think I might know some of the answer being in Realm, but how are you linking up with those types of sellers though? Where are you meeting these people? Is it a local hotspot? Is it a dinner club? Is it at the golf course? Is it just mountain biking?
Thankfully, as my career has evolved over many years, I would say a vast majority of the clients that I meet are referrals from other clients. Oftentimes they're referrals from brokers, such as yourself within Realm or within Compass. There's no question I spend a lot of money on local advertising, the local press and media, the newspapers, the magazines. People have come to me through that. I've had a pretty robust web presence for a long time. And actually the client who sold the $77 million property last year, we connected initially 10, 11 years ago via the web. So It was a website presence, and that was our 7th transaction that we were involved with. So, it was, you meet somebody however you meet them, right? I've met people on the Aspen Mountain Gondola. They've become a client, oftentimes become a friend. You take good care of your clients, and ultimately in our market, oftentimes that results in multiple transactions over many years.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Doug, fantastic. Let's say one restaurant we need to check out if we go to Aspen. Where's your favorite place where we get maybe the best steak or the best food? Where is it?
There's so many great restaurants. I have to tell you, from an ambiance perspective, and from a relatively new restaurant under the Salamander brand, and you might know them because they have a presence back east. There's a new place called the West End Social that's become kind of a new spot that I love. It's right next to the Aspen Institute and the Aspen Music Festival. So spent a lot of time there in the summer, going to lectures, going to the music festival concerts, and the view is not dissimilar to the view behind me. So it's kind of looking up at the ski mountains, and they've just from an ambiance perspective, it's about as good as it gets, and the food has become on a very elevated plane. So kind of become maybe my go-to favorites, at least this year. So
awesome, love to hear it. Doug Leibinger of Compass in Aspen, Colorado. Good stuff, Doug. Thanks so much for jumping on The Wealth Architect with us. We appreciate your insights into the Aspen market, as well as hearing a lot more about your marketplace and your career. Good stuff. Appreciate you.
Amelia, thanks for having me on the podcast, and appreciate it. If you need me, I'm pretty easy to find, doug@compass.com. So shoot me a note and let me know if I can ever help.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you, Doug. Great to meet you. We'll see you soon.
Likewise. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today on The Wealth Architect. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see others, please feel free to follow us on YouTube, subscribe there, follow us on Instagram as well at Wealth Architect Podcast, and also on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. God bless.